Welcome to the deep dive. Get ready, because today we're plunging into the incredible, almost improbable journey of Jack Ma and the creation of Alibaba, one of the most transformative companies of our time.
Absolutely. We're pulling insights directly from our source material, The Relentless Rise of Jack Ma and Alibaba, which really digs into the man and, well, the machine he built.
It really is a story that starts from the absolute bottom. I mean, no advantages, no privilege.
Nope, just one person with an idea and a, frankly, astonishing amount of perseverance.
Absolutely. So our mission with this deep dive is to, go beyond the headlines. We want to understand the fundamental building blocks of Jack Ma's success.
Right, unpack those key moments, the failures, the insights, those audacious battles.
Exactly. And crucially, that unique mindset. How did he go from being told no over 30 times to building a global empire?
And this isn't just for people interested in tech or business.
Not at all. It's a human story. It's about grit, about daring to dream when everything's stacked against you.
Yeah, and if you've ever felt like an underdog, I mean, if you've ever faced setback after setback or wondered, can I succeed without connections or a silver spoon?
Hmm.
Jack Ma's journey, as told in this source, well, it offers some pretty profound answers, I think.
We're going to trace that path. His almost comical early struggles, with school and getting a job.
Uh-huh.
How he just stumbled upon a world-changing opportunity.
Right, that's the Seattle
The
trip.
David and Goliath fight against a global giant, eBay.
Oh, yeah, the crocodile and the shark.
Exactly. And his very different take on leadership and, eventually stepping away from the peak of power. Let's unpack this relentless rise.
Okay, so to really grasp the scale of what Jack Ma built, you absolutely have to start by understanding where he came from.
Right.
Our source material really emphasizes that traditional academics were, well, an incredible challenge for him.
Seriously, a challenge is putting it mildly.
Yeah.
It wasn't just that he wasn't top of the class.
No.
He famously failed his college entrance exam. Not once, but twice.
Twice. I mean, put yourself in his shoes. You work, you study, you fail.
You pick yourself up, maybe try even harder.
And fail again. For most people, that would be, devastating.
Yeah, game over.
And the source specifically points out his struggles with math. His scores were consistently very low.
Right.
It wasn't just peers, even his teachers, the ones who were supposed to, foster potential.
Uh-huh.
They expressed doubt about his academic abilities. Imagine carrying that weight.
Yet, the story doesn't end there.
Mm.
And this is where you see that first hint of his signature resilience.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the repeated failures, despite the doubt,
Yeah.
he didn't stop.
No.
He persevered. He took the exam a third time.
And he finally passed. But importantly, he got into Hangzhou Teachers Institute.
Right, not Peking or Tsinghua, not one of the elite universities.
It was a solid school. It meant he could become a teacher, which was, respectable.
Sure.
But it wasn't elite. This detail is crucial. He started on a perfectly ordinary path from a very non-elite background.
And the rejections didn't stop with academics, did they?
Oh, not even close.
Huh.
Perhaps the most staggering section of the source details his post-graduation job search. The numbers are almost hard to believe.
Okay.
He applied for over 30 different jobs.
30.
30! And he was rejected from every single one.
Wow. Can you even imagine the emotional toll of that? Application after application.
Interview after interview, each one ending with a firm no.
Yeah, it's brutal.
The source really zooms in on that now legendary KFC story to illustrate this point vividly.
Oh yeah, the KFC story.
So KFC opens its first location in Hangzhou. 24 people applied for jobs there.
Okay.
23 people were hired. Jack Ma was the only applicant rejected.
The only one. Out of 24.
Yeah. That's not just a rejection. It's like being singled out as the least suitable person in the whole group. It's almost, well, it's brutal.
And he even applied to join the police force, another stable government job at the time.
Rejected again. Rejected again, yeah.
Hmm.
It makes you wonder what they saw or didn't see. Was it his physical presence, his communication style, which was already pretty animated?
Who knows? But he just didn't fit the mold they were looking for. Time after time.
And then there's the truly remarkable persistence with Harvard.
Oh, right. Harvard?
The source mentions he sent his application package to Harvard University not just once, not 5 times.
10 times.
10 times. And 10 times he got a rejection letter.
10 rejections from Harvard.
Yeah.
The sheer scale of that persistence. I mean, in the face of such consistent denial from arguably the top university,
Yeah.
it's almost baffling.
Most people Any, rational person really would take these failures, failing exams, the KFC thing, 30-plus job rejections, 10 Harvard rejections, and just internalize them.
Yeah, they'd think, okay, something's wrong with me. I'm not cut out for this.
Exactly. They'd give up, maybe settle. But the source is adamant. Jack Ma was fundamentally different.
Even while working as an English teacher,
Yeah.
making what, like $12 a month?
Yeah, barely enough to live on. Even then, he was doing something extraordinary, something not driven by immediate financial need.
The tour guiding.
For 9 years, yes, 9 years, he volunteered as a free tour guide for foreign tourists visiting Hangzhou.
And the motivation initial was just simple, right? Practice English.
Exactly. Back in the 90s in China, opportunities to interact with native English speakers were pretty scarce. This was his workaround.
But the impact was so much deeper than just, improving his vocabulary.
Oh, way deeper. By spending hours, days, weeks, years guiding tourists, he was constantly exposed to new ideas, different cultures, global perspectives, ways of thinking that were completely alien to the China of that era.
He was building this huge worldview, a mental library of global thoughts and ambitions, way before he ever thought about starting a business.
Right. The source frames it beautifully. It was a form of self-education, cultural immersion, informal networking, almost unheard of then, and fueled purely by curiosity and wanting to learn English.
So all these early experiences, the struggles, the rejections, the low pay, the tour guiding, they forged this incredible grit.
Mm-hmm. The source notes that through every failure, every door slammed shut, he never lost his energy, his optimism.
His forward momentum.
Exactly. And it wasn't just innate energy, it was a conscious philosophy. The source highlights his famous quote, "If you don't give up, you still have a chance. Giving up is the greatest failure."
That wasn't just a nice saying for him. It was his core belief. It let him absorb disappointment and just keep moving.
Yeah, that ability to stand up after being knocked down 30, 40, 50 times. It wasn't just endurance. The source argues it was about vision and an almost unbreakable force of character built in those tough early years.
And that resilience built brick by brick from all that rejection was the essential bedrock for everything that came next.
Absolutely. And for you, listening, this is maybe the most human part of the story. Setbacks, failures, feeling underestimated, that's universal. Jack's early years don't just show you can survive rejection. They show rejection can actually be the material you build your strength from.
So what no's have you faced? And instead of seeing them as proof, you're not good enough.
How might you choose to see them, like Jack did, as maybe just clearing the path for the next attempt?
That reframing is everything. And it was that unique perspective that let him spot an opportunity that, well, almost everyone else missed.
Which brings us to 1995, a truly pivotal moment, detailed extensively in the source. Jack travels to the U.S. for the first time.
And crucially, remember, he wasn't a tech person.
Not at all. He went as a translator, invited by a friend to help with some kind of business dispute.
The source paints such a vivid picture of his lack of technical familiarity. He had, by his own account, never seen the internet before.
Can you imagine? Barely knew how to use a computer. This wasn't some Silicon Valley insider. He was an English teacher and former tour guide.
So picture this scene. He's in Seattle. His friend shows him the internet, this new magical thing.
He's hesitant at first, apparently afraid of breaking the computer.
Yeah. But eventually he's persuaded to try searching for something. His first search, beer.
And the source describes his amazement. Typing beer into Yahoo, which was the big dog back then.
Right.
Thousands upon thousands of results pop up. Brands, brewing info, bars. Just this overwhelming flood of digital information.
But it was the second search, the one that really changed everything.
Mm-hmm. He decided to type in China.
And what came back?
According to the source, effectively.
No.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Maybe a few obscure government sites, but nothing about businesses, people, no easily available information. It was, as he saw it, like China just didn't exist online.
And right then, in that moment, sitting in Seattle, no tech background, no business plan, no money, the vision hit him.
Crystal clear.
The internet was going to change the world. It was coming, and China was completely, utterly unprepared.
He saw a massive blank canvas waiting to be filled. Not a lack of results, but a world of potential.
So what's the first thing he does when he gets back to Hangzhou? Bursting with this idea.
He starts telling his friends, "We must do something with the internet. It's the future."
And their reaction.
The source says they thought he was crazy.
Well, looking at China in 1995, you can kind of see why, right?
No, absolutely. The internet was almost non-existent there. Computers were rare, expensive. Modems were painfully slow. No digital infrastructure, no online culture.
No e-commerce concept?
Exactly. His friends were grounded in the reality of the present. Jack was living in the potential of the future.
But he wasn't deterred. He launched his first attempt, China Pages.
Yeah. The source describes it as basically an online business directory. Simple idea. Get Chinese businesses online. Give them a digital storefront so the world could find them.
But it faced huge challenges at that early stage, didn't it?
Immense challenges, which the source details. The tech was clunky. The concept was baffling to potential clients. Why do I need a website? What is the internet?
Right. Plus, no legal framework for online business. No way for banks to handle digital payments.
It was just too early. The infrastructure wasn't ready. Businesses weren't ready. The public wasn't ready.
So, predictably, despite all his passion and effort, China Pages struggled.
And within a few years, it folded. By traditional measures, a failure.
But here's that critical perspective again. The source emphasizes Jack Ma did not see this as definitive failure, not proof his vision was wrong.
No, he saw it as a signpost. He analyzed why it didn't work yet.
Okay.
The demand was real, path to read. Chinese businesses did need to connect globally. The infrastructure was weak, but it was developing. The timing for that specific directory approach wasn't right.
But the fundamental need, that massive opportunity of connecting China digitally, was still there, still growing.
Right. So his conclusion wasn't give up, it was learn and pivot. The next try needed to understand the context better, address the infrastructure gaps, be bolder.
It wasn't just about building a company, it was about building that bridge China needed for the digital era he'd seen in Seattle.
And that ability to tell the difference between a failed attempt and a signpost pointing the way forward, that's a powerful lesson.
Yeah. For you, listening, how do you react when your first tries don't work out? Is it a dead end, or can you analyze why and find the signposts for your next, maybe bolder approach?
And it was exactly this hard-won understanding, born from the China Pages experience, that led directly to founding Alibaba.
Which brings us to early 1999, that now legendary meeting in Jack's small apartment in Hangzhou.
Yeah, the source paints a vibrant picture. 18 people packed into his modest living space, Jack, and 17 close friends, former colleagues.
Not exactly a formal corporate launch. No VCs, no polished pitch decks.
No, none of that. The atmosphere was apparently electric, though. Full of shared purpose, but also uncertainty. The whole plan was probably just sketched on a whiteboard, a big dream in a small room.
And Jack stood before them, not with financial projections, but with a simple, powerful call to action.
Rooted in that Seattle vision. In the next 5 to 10 years, the internet will change everything in China. If we don't act now, if we don't seize this moment, we will regret it forever.
And then he laid out the core mission, the guiding principle. Let's build a company that helps small businesses in China connect with the world.
The source emphasizes this was a pitch for a mission, for a shared purpose, something globally significant, much more than just getting rich quick.
And these 17 people, friends, former students, colleagues, they believed in him and in the mission.
Yeah, enough to pool their own savings. They didn't have outside funding yet.
How much was it?
The source indicates roughly $60,000 to $80,000 total.
Wow. Think about the personal risk. Contributing their own savings to this audacious, unproven idea, led by a guy whose first internet venture failed and who'd been rejected from dozens of jobs.
That's profound trust and shared belief.
So with that pooled capital, Alibaba.com was born.
And the source describes the initial website as, well, basic, slow, clunky, especially by today's standards.
But the idea underneath was revolutionary for China then. A B2B, business-to-business marketplace.
And this was a crucial pivot. Many were starting to think about consumers, but Jack Ma understood the real engine of China's economy was those millions of small businesses.
Right, the farmers, the small factory owners, the artisans, the shopkeepers.
They had products, often good ones, but no way to reach buyers beyond their local area, let alone globally.
So Alibaba wasn't just a website. It was infrastructure, creating, as the source puts it, a digital Silk Road.
A bridge, connecting these small Chinese producers directly to businesses around the world looking for goods.
But building this B2B platform in 1999 China, I mean, the obstacles must have been huge.
Immense. The source recounts them. No established credit systems to verify businesses. Logistics were a mess, totally fragmented, unreliable.
And many of the businesses they wanted to help didn't even have computers or email.
Right. So the early Alibaba team's job went way beyond coding. They had to travel across China, visit factories, farms.
Teach people what the internet was. Explain Alibaba. helped them get online, convinced them to trust it.
They were evangelists and educators as much as tech pioneers.
And through all this difficulty, Jack Ma's leadership style was key, wasn't it?
Absolutely. The source highlights he didn't lead with hierarchy or pressure. He led with infectious passion, unwavering belief in the mission.
His mantra, "We're not competing with giants, we're creating a world where the little guys can win."
And that resonated deeply with the team, with their target audience.
That mission fueled them, even when things were really tough. The source notes they went months, maybe a year or two, without significant revenue.
Burning through that initial 60, 80K, doubt must have crept in.
For sure.
But Jack constantly reinforced the core belief. Their success was tied to the success of the small businesses they served. If they could empower those little guys, Alibaba would eventually thrive.
It was a long-term vision, helping others succeed first, profit second.
That sense of shared mission, prioritizing others' success, especially when starting with almost nothing, it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah. For you, listening, whatever you're building, what's your core mission? Is this something that inspires beyond just money?
And what kind of infrastructure, trust, education, tools do you need to help build, not just for yourself, but for the community or ecosystem you're part of?
Because that scrappy team and their mission were about to face their biggest test yet.
Fast forward a few years, around 2003, Alibaba's B2B platform had gained some traction, slowly building that digital Silk Road.
But still relatively small, fragile. And then a global behemoth arrives.
eBay.
eBay. At that time, the undisputed global champ of online commerce. They entered China aggressively.
Yeah, they acquired a local competitor, EachNet, pumped in capital, planning to just replicate their model and overpower everyone.
That must have put enormous pressure on Jack Ma and the team.
Huge pressure. The source details how investors' advisors looked at eBay's scale, their money, their track record, and told Jack, basically, you can't win, sell now.
But Jack...
And consistent with that early resilience, he refused. He saw China as his home turf, his battleground. He wasn't conceding it.
So he gathered his team and gave that famous speech, right? The metaphor.
eBay is a shark in the ocean, but we are a crocodile in the Yangtze River. If we fight them in the ocean, we lose. But if we fight in our territory in the river, we win.
Which wasn't just clever talk, it was strategy.
Exactly. The river was China, unique customs, language, challenges, user habits that eBay, with its global template, didn't get.
And the crocodile was Alibaba, local knowledge, agility, adaptability, compared to eBay's rigidity.
His strategic response: launch a new platform, consumer-focused, specifically for the river, Taobao.
C2C, consumer to consumer, direct competitor to eBay's main business, built from scratch for Chinese users.
Simple, fast, local language, addressing local needs, and the game-changing, almost reckless move.
Making it free.
Completely free for sellers, while eBay charged fees.
That must have sent shockwaves. Sellers flocked to Taobao.
Yes, it's a huge financial gamble. Betting volume and market share would eventually pay off somehow, like through advertising.
But the biggest hurdle, and maybe Alibaba's most brilliant innovation here, was trust, right? People were scared to pay strangers online.
Absolutely. Which led to Alipay, also detailed in the source.
Explain Alipay simply.
It was basically a secure escrow service. Buyer pays, money goes to Alipay, not the seller. Seller ships goods.
Yeah.
Buyer receives goods, checks them, confirms satisfaction. Then Alipay releases the money to the seller.
Simple but revolutionary. It bypassed the trust barrier, made people feel safe buying online in China, something eBay initially lacked.
Fundamentally changed the game.
The source really contrasts the cultures of the two teams during this fight.
Yeah, eBay's team in China, professional but seen as pushing a U.S. model, slow, didn't quite get the local nuances. Their platform felt foreign.
Whereas the Alibaba Taobao team
operated like warriors, fighting for their home turf, relentless work, sleeping in the office, pushing updates overnight, responding instantly, scrappy, fearless, deeply connected to their users.
And Jack's leadership was critical in fostering that.
Totally. He didn't just manage, he inspired. He created this office culture, unusual for China then, full of energy, laughter, games, fervent belief.
Celebrating wins with handstands and silly string.
Yeah. Not corporate formality, but tribal unity. He framed them as fighters against a bigger foe, not just employees. That shared purpose and fun, even under pressure, was incredibly powerful.
He had that other quote then too, right? About tomorrow being worse.
Oh, yeah. Today is hard, tomorrow will be worse, but the day after tomorrow will be sunshine. Most people die tomorrow night.
Wow. Raw. But it captured that spirit, The struggle is real, maybe gets tougher, but push through the dark. The breakthrough is coming. Most competitors won't make it.
The source clearly identifies this unique culture, this warrior spirit, as Taobao's secret weapon. Not tech, not capital, but heart, hustle, belief.
And the strategy worked amazingly well.
Yeah, the source details the outcome. In just about 2 years, eBay's market share in China collapsed. They couldn't compete with free, local focus and Alipay's trust factor.
By 2006, eBay basically pulled out of the consumer market there. A stunning defeat for a global giant.
Jack Ma didn't just beat eBay. He proved local knowledge, agility, tailored innovation, and powerful culture could beat size and capital. eBay played chess, Jack played with heart, instinct, and connection to his river.
Such profound lessons there. For you, listening, when you face bigger competition, how do you find and use your home territory advantage? What's unique about your context, your audience, your strengths?
And how crucial is that team culture, that morale, that internal spirit in navigating those tough battles?
Winning the Yangtze River against eBay was huge, but it wasn't the end. Alibaba needed serious capital to scale up Jack's big vision.
Right, which takes us back momentarily to 1999, just months after the apartment founding. That meeting with Masayoshi Son, founder of SoftBank.
Ah, yes, Masa-san.
The source recounts this meeting as brief, chaotic, unforgettable. And what's amazing is what Jack didn't do.
No complex spreadsheets or projections.
Nope. He didn't give the typical investor pitch. He stood up and talked. Raw passion, conviction about his mission.
Empowering small businesses, transforming China with the internet, that digital Silk Road.
Exactly. Conveying absolute belief in the future he saw.
And Masa-san, known for his intuitive, sometimes audacious style.
He didn't invest because the numbers looked perfect. The source is clear. He invested because he saw the fire, the clarity, the absolute conviction in Jack Ma himself. It was a bet on the person.
And the result.
A stunning show of faith. SoftBank invested $20 million.
Wow, in 1999 for a company like that.
Huge. And crucially, the source emphasizes, Son invested without demanding control or forcing Jack to change his team. That allowed Jack to keep his unique culture and vision intact.
And Goldman Sachs came in around then, too.
Yep, another $5 million. Further validation.
That capital must have been a game changer.
Totally. It let Alibaba accelerate everything. Hire faster, build better tech, invest in logistics, payment systems like Alipay, expand across China much faster.
But even with all that money, Jack kept that frugal, mission-driven mindset, didn't he?
Yeah, the source highlights that. He reportedly told the team, "This money isn't ours. It belongs to the dream. Use it wisely."
It wasn't a license to spend. It was a responsibility to fulfill the mission.
Exactly. The goal wasn't just getting rich. It was building that transformative platform.
So all these years, Rejections, China Page's failure, apartment founding, beating eBay, building trust, getting investment in it, it was a long road.
15 years, the source reminds us. Relentless work, near collapses, countless long days fueled by belief.
And it all led to one historic moment. September 19th, 2014.
Alibaba goes public on the New York Stock Exchange.
The scale was just staggering, right? Instantly global news.
Raised an initial $21.8 billion, eventually $25 billion with the clean shoe option, the source points out. Largest IPO in global history at the time. Still a record for the initial amount. Cemented Alibaba on the world stage.
Jack Ma was there on the NYSE floor. How was he described?
Smiling but grounded amidst the chaos, in a simple black suit. His words, spoken quietly, cut through the noise. Today is not about me. It's about what China's small businesses can achieve when they dare to believe.
Wow. Even then, focus on the mission, the little guys.
The financial validation was insane. Market cap soared past $230 billion overnight, making Jack one of the richest people on Earth.
But the IPO validated more than just wealth, as the source stresses.
Oh, yeah. Proof that Chinese tech could rival, even surpass, Silicon Valley. Proof small businesses could drive global innovation. And proof, maybe most powerfully, of Jack's original vision, that belief, perseverance, focus on others could build an empire, even from nothing.
And how did the guy who started on $12 a month celebrate becoming mega rich?
The source notes his most public celebration wasn't yachts or jets, it was dancing.
Dancing.
Specifically, a Michael Jackson tribute. Black leather, moonwalk, the whole thing, at an Alibaba anniversary party soon after the IPO. Yes, a moment of pure joy. Maybe a nod to his unconventional path. It kind of encapsulated his personality. Success was about showing anything's possible with effort and daring to be different.
That journey from bootstrapping to global IPO, it takes time, sacrifice, immense belief.
Yeah. For you listening, how do you stay focused on your core mission, your dream? Especially when you get external validation or resources, how do you use them wisely, rooted in purpose?
Because even after reaching that incredible peak, Jack Ma's story takes another turn, defining his unique approach to leadership and legacy.
Right. By 2015, a year after the IPO, Alibaba was, as the source describes it, the beating heart of China's digital economy. Taobao dominated, Alipay had become Ant Financial, a fintech giant. Jack had wealth, global influence, power.
The kind most people only dream of. But he wasn't planning to stay in charge forever.
No, the source highlights his belief. True leadership isn't clinging to power. It's knowing when to step away, make space for the next generation, find new ways to contribute.
So in 2018, he made that surprising announcement. He'd retire as chairman the next year, 2019.
He was under 55. Not typical retirement age for someone like him. His reasons weren't just being tired. He wanted to focus on his passions, education, philanthropy, empowering younger leaders.
The official handover, September 10th, 2019.
Significant date, the source notes, his birthday, and also Teacher's Day in China. Deliberate choice. Honoring his roots, signaling his future focus.
And the event itself wasn't some stuffy corporate ceremony.
No, it was a massive stadium celebration, tens of thousands of employees. Jack Ma took the stage and performed in a concert.
Seriously. Sang,
laughed, cried, a deeply personal, emotional expression of freedom and purpose as he transitioned out. His words echoed his long-held desire. I don't want people to remember me as the richest man in China. I want them to remember me as a teacher.
fulfilling that legacy.
After stepping down, the source details his increased focus on the Jack Ma Foundation, supporting rural education, entrepreneurship, environmental causes, global development, especially in Africa, actively pursuing that teacher-philanthropist identity.
But this post-retirement phase hit some turbulence, didn't it?
Yeah, unexpected turbulence, which the source covers. Late 2020, Jack made critical remarks about China's financial regulatory system in public. Perceived as challenging authority, sparked a swift, significant government response.
Including suspending the Ant Group IPO, which is going to be huge.
And bigger than Alibaba's. Then, Jack largely disappeared from public view for months. Rumors flew, global speculation.
How did he handle that pressure?
The source notes his response was characteristic resilience, but applied differently. No public fight. He went quiet.
Use the time for reflection, travel.
And quiet teaching and learning. He started reappearing, but very low profile, traveling outside China, Japan, Italy, Thailand, often engaging with experts in agriculture, sustainability, continuing his focus on education and philanthropy.
So the source frames this not as defeat, but evolution.
Exactly. Not fronting corporations, but learning, teaching quietly, pursuing interests away from the spotlight.
And in 2023, 2024, his quiet return to Hangzhou.
Yeah, the source mentions it. Not reclaiming the throne, but teaching at universities, working on agricultural tech, mentoring young entrepreneurs. Less the mogul, more definitively the teacher and quiet innovator.
There's a paradox there, isn't there? The louder his success got globally,
The quieter, more intentionally low profile he seemed to become. That transition from flamboyant frontman to a quiet mentor is remarkable.
and maybe that's a final, profound lesson from his story, suggested by the source.
Could be. True influence, true greatness isn't always about holding power or being in the spotlight. It can be about knowing when to step back, trust others, serve purpose beyond your own position.
He didn't just build a company, he built a culture, a platform, a mindset that empowered millions.
Yeah. So for you listening, how do you define success beyond conventional metrics? Wealth, title, recognition. What does it really mean to cultivate influence by empowering others, knowing when to pass things on?
And how might you navigate big challenges or controversies, staying true to your values, even if it means stepping away from the noise?
Jack Ma's incredible journey, drawing from the relentless rise of Jack Ma and Alibaba, leaves us with some powerful, enduring lessons.
First, rejection is not the end. It's a beginning. Remember the 30-plus job rejections, 10 Harvard no's, KFC.
He saw them not as proof of inadequacy, but challenges. As the source quotes him, if people say you are not good, prove them wrong. Not by fighting, by surviving. Surviving, persisting, getting up again, that was proving them wrong.
Second, you don't need to be the smartest. You need to be the most resilient and able to inspire. Failed math, not a tech genius, but understood people.
Knew how to articulate a vision, build trust, like with Alipay, rally a team. Success wasn't IQ, but EQ, emotional intelligence, and maybe LQ, a love quotient for the mission and the team.
Third, timing beats talent and courage beats certainty. Seeing the internet in '95, China as a blank canvas. No roadmap, no certainty. China pages failed.
But he didn't wait for perfection. He had the courage to step into uncertainty, start building the future he saw, betting on that timing of tech meeting, an untapped market.
Fourth, culture eats competition for breakfast.
The eBay battle is the prime example. Alibaba won not on money or inherited tech, but on deeper local understanding and that powerful, unique culture mission, resilience, even joy in the struggle. When people believe, that spirit is a huge advantage.
And finally, fifth, legacy isn't about holding power. It's about letting go and empowering others.
His retirement, focus on education, quiet mentoring show this. As the source quotes, his understanding. Your influence is not measured by what you control, it's measured by what continues when you leave. What you build into others matters more.
Jack Ma's story, through this source, isn't some perfect linear success march. It's full of human failure, risk, controversy, tough times.
And that's its power. He didn't start with privilege. He started with curiosity, questions, and a willingness to try, fail, learn, try again.
Didn't win because he had all the answers or everything went smoothly.
Yeah.
He won, as the source clarifies, because he never stopped searching, learning, and crucially, never stopped getting back up.
The core message from this deep dive from the source is powerful for anyone on their own path. The world doesn't just need people born with advantages.
It needs more believers, more builders, more people willing to face setbacks, learn from struggle, cultivate that relentless resilience to stand up one more time than everyone else.
Just like the teacher from Hangzhou.
So, as we bring this deep dive into the relentless rise of Jack Ma and Alibaba to a close, I want to leave you with a few thoughts, a few questions based on this journey.
How can you intentionally cultivate that deep resilience Jack Ma forged in those Thani plus rejections? What internal wellspring can you tap when the inevitable no's come?
Where is the blank canvas opportunity in your own life, your work, your community that others might be overlooking, like China Online in 1995? What potential is waiting?
And what simple, fundamental steps can you take, maybe starting today, to build something with heart, a strong culture, grounded in a mission, even knowing challenges and competition will be fierce?
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the source material.
We encourage you to reflect on Jack Ma's story and consider how its powerful lessons might apply to your own relentless journey.